What are altered states? And what is ecstasy? What is the importance of ecstasy, and what is ecstasy?
Ecstasy is the most divine feeling of being connected with the whole of existence.
Ecstasy is essentially a spiritual experience. We are ecstatic when our conscious awareness transcends the ego, but at the same time aligns with our body, allowing us to be fully aware physically, but without the inner dialogue of the mind. That is why sex is the form of ecstasy that many people can recognize. The physical experience of sexual pleasure overcomes the mind's incessant thinking, and we are relieved for the moment of our brooding about the past in anticipation of the future. Right from the beginning, we start getting an idea that ecstasy is an embodied experience. Ecstasy lives and is brought about through our physical bodies. Among the Egyptians, there were specific rituals for using the ecstatic states awakened through sex to nourish the energy of the subtle body, known to the Egyptians as the Ka. The hunger for ecstasy was acknowledged as a real hunger because ecstasy is food for the Ka body, giving it vitality and potency. The Ka not only sustains the physical cells and tissue, but also provides for the capacity to experience and express the conceptual reality, the logos, that enlivens the physical tissue. Curiously, it is thought that shame is poison to the Ka, and that ecstasy is needed to detoxify the bodies from the negative effects of shame. And I found this incredibly interesting. And the idea that ecstasy and the ecstatic state is actually nourishing for us as human beings, as human animal beings. We are hardwired. It's within our DNA. It's within our physical structure. This vessel, this body, helps us reach altered states that bring about the experience of ecstasy. And ecstasy is actually, according to the ancient Egyptians, food for a spiritual body. So what that also means is that when we don't experience ecstasy on a regular basis, we are actually deprived. We are starving for food. We are starving for ecstasy. So ecstasy is a very integral experience of this being human and being in a physical body.
Music, dance, rhythm, ritual gets us beyond little local consciousness. Rhythm sets up another rhythm in the brain. It sets up another rhythm in the body. Change the music, you change the mind. Change the music, change the rhythm, and already consciousness then goes into another stratum, another level, another possibility.
This connection from nature, as indigenous primitive beings, as hunter-gatherers, we used to live in direct contact with the natural world. So our disconnection from nature is really a disconnection from our mother. Not disconnection from the mother is a disconnection from the earth. Disconnection from the earth is physical, right? It's the earth element in Chinese Taoist medicine. The earth, it's a disconnection from the body. Whatever is physical, the body, our physical body. The repudiation of the feminine, the repudiation of the body that happened, a few hundred years ago. And the repudiation of anything that's sensual and sexual, embodied. And so we ran away and we hid in our minds. So repudiation of the body, and within the body is the ecstatic state, because the ecstatic state is an embodied state. And the ecstatic state can really truly be reached fully through the body, because this is our vessel, it's embedded in us. And this actually creates a disconnection from the here and now, the present moment. Because when I'm fully embodied, and when I am activating an experience of ecstasy, I am fully here and now. So being ecstatic actually means being fully present, being whole, being fulfilled, being nourished at such a complete level that I'm actually showing up as fully as I can as a human being.
We come into the world whole and perfect, although with our potential completely unrealized. And to the extent that the world does not see us for that whole and perfect beings that we are, we cover up and we lose our connection to ourselves. And that's where the addictions come in. Because whatever we can't do for ourselves, we want to see something from the outside to complete ourselves.
Addiction, in my opinion, is a craving for wholeness. Many of our young people have a deep desire of getting altered, of getting stoned, of stepping outside of the very uncomfortable reality that they live in and find a deeper meaning. It's almost a self-initiated rite of passage. And this deep desire, I think it's a remembrance of the wholeness and the fullness that belongs to us. It's our right as human animal beings. There's a part of us that remembers how it feels to be full, to be ecstatic, to be present, to be here.
I define addiction as any behavior that has negative consequences, that one is compelled to persist in and relapse into and crave despite those negative consequences. So the addictive personality is somebody with this sense of deficient emptiness, with the sense of incoherent distress, without the capacity to soothe themselves and to regulate themselves without that external source of relief, whether that be sex, gambling, or heroin. What did the heroin do for you?
Well, somebody said to me one time, what does heroin feel like?
Yeah.
And the closest I could explain it was, when you were a young child and you were really sick, and your mom come into the room, put a nice warm blanket around you, give you a bowl of chicken noodle soup and held you.
Yeah.
That's basically what heroin made me feel like.
The ecstatic experience is an embodied experience, and there's a certain ritual and a certain intention and a certain focus that goes into it in order to reach the altered state and be fulfilled by the ecstatic experience. So by being an embodied experience, think about addiction for a moment. In an addictive experience, if I'm taking a drug, my system gets aroused and I am skyrocketed up to this ecstatic experience. My consciousness expands for a moment. However, I did not build a ground prior. I did not set up a ritual. I did not have a community to hold me as I was traveling into the alternate reality. I did not set an intention, so I wasn't really consciously aware of what I was going to do in the alternate reality. Therefore, when I come back, when I come back into my body, I believe that a split is created between the body and the spirit. And now the body has to catch up with the transformation that the spirit has witnessed, and therefore the body starts decaying. This realization really came by looking at pictures of meth addicts and looking how their skin and teeth and eyes and facial features just really crumbled in a matter of months. There's no integration of the experience. That is why it's so important, I think, that we recognize that the ecstatic experience is within our body. It's our human heritage, and by accessing the ecstatic experience in a healthy and conscious way with our communities, we can likely start a healing process that will not only heal ourselves, our bodies, our traumas, but it will begin healing our communities and our societies eventually. So this is a model that I wrote out to understand the different pathways that as humans we have available in order to reach altered states of consciousness that eventually leads us to ecstasy. And remember, ecstasy is the feeling of interconnection with all, is touching God, the big love, and being fulfilled at a complete level. So according to Bradford Keeney, he talks about the healing cycle. And there's two pathways for this healing cycle. Often we've focused on relaxation, especially in the 60s and 70s. There was a lot of emphasis on stress and anger management, meditation, transcendental meditation, where this is a perfectly valuable pathway, and this is I think this is a descending pathway. It's the relaxation response, where to think about it, it's trophotropic, and it's calming, affects the parasympathetic nervous system. And think about Buddhist monks meditating, looking at a candle, going in stillness, deeper and deeper, and descending this way into a state of peace and calm. Well, Bradford Keeney says that this is the only part of the equation. What's also important to mention is the other side of the healing cycle, which is the arousal response. And he talks about, as far as the arousal response, it's what the Kalahari Bushmen do and many other indigenous people do. It's ergotropic, it's expanding, and it impacts the sympathetic nervous system. And so by doing that, the nervous system gets aroused, it gets stimulated and aroused. And we do that through, for example, rhythmic drumming, dancing and shaking, clapping our hands repetitively, singing monotonously, fasting. This way the nervous system gets aroused, and it rises and rises and rises until we cross over into the alternate reality and reach a state of ecstasy. And then eventually we come down into a deep relaxation response. And this comprises the whole healing cycle, according to Bradford Keeney. And there's a third one, that I think needs to be included, which is inscendence. And inscendence is a word that Thomas Berry, I believe, first mentioned, and also Bill Plotkin restated. And inscendence is going within. It's taking a third route of going within our sensations. And one of the ways to look at inscendence, in my opinion, is inscendence, going within this physical being, this physical body, and feeling, being fully aware of my humanness, of my raw, sensuous humanness, of feeling my feet, feeling the breath coming in, feeling the air in the back of my neck, feeling my legs, feeling the shirt on my chest. So being fully aware, almost like being biologically aware of not only who lives, within this body, but also what surrounds me. Being fully aware of the ecology of the body and the ecology of the greater body, which is the world. Arguably, the shaking experience is actually what creates an altered state of consciousness, because the nervous system is aroused, is excited and aroused, which allows us to step out of the box and enter in alternate reality and have the experience of ecstasy, and then come back from that and dip down into a state of deep relaxation and peace. So it's a cycle, right? There's the peak of high arousal, and then there's the dropping down into deep relaxation. Ecstatic trembling and shaking are the natural expressions of a spirited body. They indicate a process of heightened arousal that contributes to the body's way of bringing forth self-corrective healing, well-being, and transformation. If you closely examine an African healing ritual like the Kalahari Bushman healing dance, you find that heightened arousal and deep relaxation are co-present. After someone dances into ecstasy, a climax or plateau is attained, and thereafter the body falls to the ground, entering a deep state of relaxation. What takes place is a full cycle that moves from arousal to relaxation. I propose that this full cycle, in which one climbs toward high peak of arousal and then falls until hitting a deep bottom of relaxation, comprises a paradigm for the whole healing response. There are significant healing and transformational benefits when we allow our bodies to naturally and effortlessly enter ecstatic realms and then effortlessly shift into deep states of relaxation